Hey there and welcome everyone to part number 3 of my 4-part video series about 3 of the main concepts that I'm working with in my Beyond Systems Human Basic Training. Now in this video I'm going deeper into the concept of this multidisciplinary approach. And it doesn't matter whether or not you actually join one of my retreats and experience this principle firsthand, or if you just watch this video, because I make sure that by the end of the next couple of minutes you actually have an idea and already a basic understanding of why this principle is important and how you can apply this concept in your real life to already make major improvements. So that's the plan here. At the end I'm gonna talk a little bit more about what to expect at one of those retreats, but now let's just jump right into this multidisciplinary approach. Now what is it? How can you imagine that? Let's start with a small game. Just start by thinking about you live in a room, and let's imagine this room. You have proper lighting in there, you have literally a lot of comfort in there, but you don't actually know anything outside of that room. So there are no windows, you've never seen a stair in your life. It's just that room, a one-floor room with a bed and with some books maybe and something like that. So you have literally no idea what the outside world looks like. Now obviously for a human being this would be a massive limitation of his or her potential. Let's talk about another example. Let's say you grew up on a boat in the middle of the ocean and the only thing you know is life on that boat. The only thing you know is that wherever you walk on this boat there is always this rocking of the waves, there is no completely steady ground, and you've never seen land before in your whole life. Again, yes, that's absolutely possible to live like that for a human being, but again, it is far limited in regard to what the potential of a human being could actually be. Or, well, that's maybe a little bit of a far-fetched example, but let's just think about you literally know nothing other than living in a vertical plane, like on a ladder or somewhere in the mountains, like literally with very steep cliffs and so on. When you never experienced this openness, say of a desert or of the ocean, and you only know those narrow valleys and stuff like that, again, this represents part of what a human being in terms of experiencing is capable of. But there is so much more to our potential. Now, when I'm talking about a multidisciplinary approach, what's really important is that it's always about unlocking potential and about literally regaining one's even personal concept and perception of what the whole potential of yourself could actually be. Let me be a little bit more specific in this. Let's say, for example, we are talking about yoga. Yoga is a very popular method nowadays, obviously. Now, in yoga, there are a lot of different levels and a lot of different layers to it. Some of them, they are wrapped around developing of the mind. Some of them are wrapped around developing your emotions and your interaction with the world. Some of them are wrapped around literally how to develop your body, how to maintain your body, and so on. Now, just from the looks of it, one would say, yeah, okay, awesome, sounds like a pretty complete system. I'd say yes, but is it truly? Because there is one more question we have to ask. What is the purpose of this whole system? What is the purpose that all those methods within the yogic tradition, the Ayurvedic tradition, what is the purpose of those methods? Why did whoever invented it strive for something like a development of the mind, development of energy, development of emotions, development of interaction and interconnection with the surroundings. Why did they develop physical exercises to actually improve the physical body? What was the intent behind that? What was the direction? And once you look at it from that perspective, you realize it's not a complete system at all. Again, it is one of those boxes. It is either the ship on the ocean, or the steep valleys, or it is that room. It is one specific system that is designed for a very specific purpose. Granted, it's one of the more complete ones in terms of it involves and it develops around the mind, the emotions, the body, energy, and so on. So it includes quite a lot of things, but still they are colored in a specific way. And that's the level that I'm talking about at. The same goes, for instance, say for Chinese medicine, or Chinese Qigong, or Tai Chi, or Bagua, or anything like that. It's pretty much the same thing. In themselves, they are a so-called holistic system, a holistic medicine system, a holistic martial arts or personal development system, as so far as it's about the body, it's about the mind again, it's about energy, it's about emotions, it's about interaction with the environment again. But again, just like in yoga, there is a very specific intent behind that system, behind those different modalities and methods that were created in that super system that nowadays we know as Chinese health and martial arts. And don't get me wrong here, I don't really want to make any system bad. That's never my intent, and that's definitely not where I want to go with this. The only thing I want to show you is that each and every system is actually there for a very specific purpose. And one of the things that is extremely hard to pack into a system is life itself. So when I'm talking about a multidisciplinary approach, I literally mean that it takes not just different systems, but also a completely different approach in terms of your intent in order to truly be holistic in one's own development or unlocking of potential. And that's the most important thing I want to transport here. See, for instance, if you want to train your body, there are so many possibilities out there. You can train your body by going to a dance class. You can train your body by doing calisthenics, by doing CrossFit. You can train your body by becoming an athlete and a pro runner, or say a pro climber, or a professional yoga instructor, or whatever. So there are many different possibilities to train your body. Neither one of those possibilities is the one really true method for a human being, because something like that doesn't really exist. It always depends on your intent, it always depends on your focus and on what you want to develop for yourself. Now, you might say, yeah, alright, but I already know what I like to do, I already know what I want to get good at. And that's just one thing. So why should I focus on a multidisciplinary thing? Why should I pull more than just one modality together in order to actually achieve that goal? And that's where this principle of the multidisciplinary approach actually comes in. Let me explain. The point is this. We as human beings, first and foremost, we have a lot of potential. Whatever movement we are talking about, every single movement that is basically possible just out of our biomechanics, out of our muscles, of our joints, of our connective tissue, and out of our minds, because our mind obviously governs our body in terms of movement, at least at the first stages. Everything that's possible in our mind, everything that's possible in our interaction with others, all of those are things that are highly connected and interconnected with each other. As mentioned before, there is not a single aspect in our life that is not connected to all the others. Now, you can become a 100% specialist in a specific method. And I know about that because I used to be a specialist in some specific methods. And I spent lots of time training those things. And when I say lots of time, we're talking about 45 hours of training each and every week. So pretty much the time that you spend in a regular job, I spent in propelling myself forward and training for specific modalities. The fun thing here is I did that for more than 20 years actually. And I was extremely good at those things. Eventually, I always allowed my mind to stay open as well, because there were still many questions that, with all my specialties and with all my ability that I created through this intensive training, I wasn't able to answer, and that no one else in the same area of professional field was able to answer. So I had literally to go out of that very narrow framework and seek for additional information. That eventually started the process of opening my mind more and more and more to a multidisciplinary approach. I was never really stuck in one specific thing, although I trained it so extensively. Namely, in this case, traditional Chinese methods, no matter if it's Qigong, Tai Chi, Bagua, martial arts, as well as the healing arts side. But eventually, where I found answers was actually the network that created literally itself by reaching out to other modalities. With every single piece that I learned from somewhere else, say from Feldenkrais, from Alexander technique, from yoga, from aerial yoga, from osteopathy, you name it. Every single piece that I learned from some other part of what is possible in the human mind, in the human body, in the human interaction, was something that enriched my whole practice. And eventually I also realized why that is, and that's exactly what I want to share with you right now. The point is, life is, as I mentioned already, is extremely diverse. First and foremost, we own possibilities, and it's about us and about our mind which one of those possibilities we actually choose to unlock and choose to develop. However, if we want to get good at something, it's really important that we don't try to become that something. You see, the intent of developing yourself in a certain direction, say for instance, you really want to get rid of a certain pain that you have. If you focus completely on all your efforts on getting rid of that pain, this creates simultaneously a very, very intense pressure around that theme. If you allow for more openness, and if you say, all right, well, let's try out this method, but not so much for the sake of getting rid of that specific pain point, but for the sake of just exploring it. Let's see what's in that method. Then suddenly, I bet in 95 to 98% of the cases, in that new experience, there are some things that you can do and some things that you can't do. And within those things that you can do lie positive experiences. And those positive experiences, they are something that enrich you, that empower you, and that give you more energy, that give you more drive, and that make your world a little bit brighter. There might even be some aspects in there that literally allow you to understand some of those things that you tried to figure out a lot better, just because another system might challenge your belief system. might challenge the perspective that you're currently at and forces you actually in a gentle way to shift your perspective and to look at whatever you want to improve upon, whatever you want to change, whatever you want to maybe develop from a different angle. And changing perspective is one of the most important things that you can actually do when it's about literally developing yourself. A multidisciplinary approach literally means to make experiences in, just as an example, the yoga department, make experiences with Alexander technique or Qigong or something like that, make experiences with CrossFit training, maybe, if we're talking about the body. Maybe it means making experience with energy work, making experience with psychology, making experience with body-oriented psychotherapy, making experience with meditation, making experience with, I don't know, say dance, standard, Latin, souk, you name it. Every single piece you add to the puzzle, just for the sake of it, just for the sake of trying it out, is something that potentially enriches your understanding and your network. All pro athletes nowadays, they know this and they work in that direction. There is not a single pro athlete out there who only does one thing. All of the professional athletes out there, they have lots of different training regimens. And that's for a good reason. Because they already know that it's not possible to truly develop a high-end skill without also developing side skills. And that's extremely important to understand. The really important thing is, it doesn't necessarily have to be this extreme focus to becoming the best in the world or an Olympic winner or something like that. Everything that we see in our regular day life, everything that we come across, everything that happens in our nowadays life is something that enriches our experience potentially. It depends on our way of approaching that situation, on our way of dealing, of positioning us in that specific situation. And whenever we talk about something like a multidisciplinary approach in personal development or movement, as I do, I'm teaching basic principles. I'm teaching basic principles of how you can use your mind to activate muscle in a way so that, for instance, the joints are moved with the least possible amount of tension or pressure, in a way that the energy output is the highest possible, in a way that the movement is as energy efficient as possible, in a way that the muscle is being trained as much as possible. All of those are different basic principles, but it's all possibilities for the body. And there is not a single system that can provide all of those different angles. Hence, a multidisciplinary approach in my work. Another aspect that comes in really quickly is always the conscious and the emotional one. Every single posture, every single movement we make has an effect on our ability to express ourselves and to be authentic. Authentic also in a psychological sense and in the way we interact with others. If, for instance, you're doing a lot of work that really tenses you up structurally all the time, obviously you lose the ability to really smoothly express yourself, to really go deep into this extreme, also physical sensuality. And the other way around, it's the same thing. If you only focus on opening up your joints, to a maximum and moving as energy efficient and as smoothly as possible, you will definitely have a hard time, for instance, doing a handstand or doing calisthenics or even going climbing, because the requirements are just very different. However, if you use the basic principles of strengthening, basic principles of moving very efficiently, and you bring them together, which is what a multidisciplinary approach is all about. It's really about looking at a specific task, at a specific intent from different perspectives and moving different modalities together in such a way that an individually sound method is formed. A multidisciplinary approach literally means that for every intent out there and every person out there who has that intent, there is an individual solution to go from A to B. And that's exactly the type of freedom that you cannot have within a system. Systems, some are wide-fetched and some are very narrow. And eventually, you'll reach the borders of a system, especially if you go deep. Even in yoga, even in Chinese medicine, at some point you reach the limits. At some point you reach the edges and the corners of this system. Whether or not you go beyond that and you actually improve beyond that depends on your ability to shift your perspective completely out of that specific system and allow more different angles inside. Now, what's the solution, or what's the thing that you can use on a regular day basis to actually improve your whole situation, no matter where you're at right now, by having a multidisciplinary approach mindset? It's quite simple. Just see your whole range of possibilities, the conscious ones and the unconscious ones. So literally, just imagine all your possibilities are this incredibly large piece of white paper. A method that you're currently using, say for instance you're using a specific type of fitness training and muscular training to improve your posture or something like that. That method and that specific postural approach is literally one island, one piece that you can place directly on that white sheet of paper. It is one of the things that you've already uncovered. It is one of the things that you see, that you recognize already. Now everything else that's still white are just other aspects, other possibilities that lie dormant, that you can explore. Different systems like yoga, like Pilates, like fascial work, like postural integration, which is a combination of structural work and psychotherapy work, and so on and so on. All of those different systems and methods, they will help you uncover other parts of that white sheet of paper and make them visible, make more of your potential visible, and make more of the potential that you have in interaction with your surroundings visible. It's literally like creating a huge individual piece of puzzle, and literally the picture that you uncover is eventually yourself, but you're using tools, and all of those tools, they are different systems with which you fill this blank sheet of paper. Your intent might be on one specific thing, but the more bandwidth you create by exploring different aspects, the deeper and further you can go in a safe way. Again, why is that? If you focus on one thing specifically, this means that you give it a lot of energy. and that eventually there is the potential for an imbalance. If you focus solely on really training your muscles, bodybuilding type, to an extreme, at some point your body will take a toll. You will have to pay something for that. Whether it's joint pain the second you stop to train, or it's some sort of imbalance in terms of your ability to actually express emotions, in terms of your diet, and so on, your metabolism. The same goes for the exact opposite. Whenever you train yourself to a maximum in terms of relaxation, in terms of flexibility and elasticity and flexibility, eventually you'll have reduced all your body tension to such an extent that there is only a very, very thin layer of protection net left, in terms of the second you are confronted with a more powerful, say for instance, physical impulse, because you fall with your bike, or because you have a car accident, or whatever happens, even something like another person accidentally runs and pumps into you very powerfully because maybe they fall or something like that, and the safety net for yourself to stabilize your joints then is very, very thin. So it's always about really creating a balance, and also having this balance in your life is extremely important. So this is really what this all is about. A multidisciplinary approach helps you to develop all the different basic principles: stability, mobility, flexibility, strength, endurance, adaptability, agility, all of those different things in mind, body, and soul. And that's where true potential comes from. Really having this rather wide, strong foundation where you can shift around, where you really have the full adaptability and the full capability to adjust to whatever is thrown at you or whatever you come across in life. So this is what the multidisciplinary approach is all about. If you have any specific questions about that, let me know. In your real life, it's really as simple as normally you focus all your energy on, say, rock climbing. Awesome. But do something different as well. Try something like natural movement, a natural movement practice. Some of the exercises in there, like climbing a tree, will come extremely easy for you because you have this rock climbing ability. Maybe balancing somewhere on a tree branch is a lot more difficult for you. Maybe jumping from one stone to the other in a river comes extremely difficult for you. Maybe try dancing, try swimming, try different aspects, and just go in there, not with the mind of, I am trying this out in order to improve my climbing. Just go in there and see what happens. See and explore where your strengths are. See and explore where you might have already some aspects that could use a little bit of work. And just find out and allow for this magic to happen, that white spots on the map are suddenly filled, on the movement map as well as the psychological map. What do I mean by the movement and the psychological map? Just a very quick and simple example. If I'm extremely used to moving my arms in a very narrow framework, say for instance, I really train my arms hard with biceps curls or something like that. Awesome. Go out and try natural movement and see how much do those biceps curls actually help you the second you are using your arm in a different angle than you're using it in the gym. And the real funny thing is, a healthy body structure, a healthy body posture, a healthy mind, and healthy emotional adaptability actually depends on your ability to, using the analogy, to use all the angles in the joints just as well as the one that you trained primarily. So it's really about creating this network, creating this informational network, creating a very dense map of experience from which you and your body can automatically pull, thus being extremely adaptable to many different situations you come across. Alright, again, if you have any questions about that, just leave them in the comment box below. What does this all mean with regard to my retreat? In my retreat, obviously, if your main focus is to go there because you want to improve yourself, because you want to explore yourself, and you want to take a sneak peek behind the curtain of what you thought so far would be your possibilities, and you want to check out what's really there, that's exactly what we do there. We work with different movement modalities, we work with our consciousness, we work with breathing techniques, with mindfulness techniques. And it's all designed for you to find those sweet spots and to find those dots that help you to propel yourself forward the most, because they are literally some of the most important crossing points in that net. And every time you reach one of those points, then suddenly the network makes a huge leap forward, your internal experiential network. So it's really about understanding diversity, embracing diversity, and focusing on possibility rather than on fixing something. The second you focus on the open aspect, the open possibilities, the untouched, so far untouched possibilities, energy resembles in this case also intention and awareness, suddenly has so many ways to spread, so many angles where it suddenly can re-emerge and where it can explore. And that will enrich you and your life in a very profound way. That's exactly what Beyond Systems Human Basic Training is all about. I wish you a wonderful day. Stay tuned for the third video update where I'll be talking about consciousness, and I wish you all the best. See you soon, maybe in Croatia, and have a wonderful day. Bye. Thanks for watching.